we welcome you to this edition of the Otter Tail and Grant County Veterans Service Officer Show. I'm pleased to be welcoming Joe Jelmstead, the Grant County Veterans Service Officer, rather impromptu. Coerced you into coming on to this program?
It works just fine. Since we were doing the radio show this morning, and an opportunity to talk about a few of those things and get it out to more folks.
How have you been?
Good. And yourself?
Me too, sustaining the winter time and looking forward to the warmer weather, as we all are, but the office is in full swing in Grant County and in Otter Tail County in New York Mills at the County Service Building in Fergus Falls at 505 South Court Street. Your location in the West Central Elementary School has a different access now.
Yes, it does. They've changed schools with security and the requirements for that. They've locked the back doors, so the main entrance is the only way in unless you give me a call. Then I can meet you back at the rear entrance, which is our standard entrance, and let you in from there.
Joe, Sergeant Major in the Minnesota National Guard, any updates you'd like to provide?
You know, Charlie, the Guard is continually changing. A lot of different things coming in. I think one of the big things is General Cadave, Director of the Army National Guard, has come out with Army National Guard 4.0, which is a play on new versions of things. The National Guard has kind of been status quo for, since the modern inception, with 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year. And we certainly haven't been able to stick to that timeline in terms of with deployments and all the things that have been going on. So the National Guard, having seen that as being an issue for families and employers, and also for us as guardsmen to try to have folks understand that, have come out with a promotion, Army National Guard 4.0, in which General Cadave explains that our citizen soldiers can't fulfill our mission with that 39 days, that 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year. So he explains some things in there about the requirements for training, the requirements for education, the requirements to maintain a ready force to respond to the issues that our world is dealing with now. So we've got obviously some major threats and some major issues, and with the downsizing of the active duty force, the National Guard becomes more and more requirement in order to complete that mission. You know, it's an informational type of situation to get that word out to people, so that you know, they understand when soldiers are being asked to do more time, whether it be the neighbors understanding why they're gone for multiple weekends, or employers trying to deal with backfilling schedules and things of that nature, educators where their students are asking for time off that just doesn't seem like it would be that traditional situation. It isn't, because the traditional situation has changed. So the 39 days in some cases has become 50 days in a year, which doesn't sound like a lot, but sometimes that's added in on a Thursday or a Friday versus another weekend, and so it just kind of creates that situation where he's trying to get the information out.
Flashback to 1975. Following graduation, I went to a school for, they called it telephonics, or it was a telephone lineman course in Wadena that I took following high school. Just about the time what was known as Ma Bell, Northwestern Bell, was breaking up into subsidiaries, I had the alternative of either going into the regular workforce upon a graduation, or, with all due respect, splicing cable in the middle of South Dakota for what were then the telephone lines. We've come so far with the technology now, but I had a friend that was entering the United States Navy at the time. He had already enlisted, and I wonder if I would like to get away, see the world, enlist in the United States Armed Forces in the Navy, and I did. And spent 4 years, 2.5 of which were sailing the Pacific shortly after the Vietnam War, when tensions were still escalated. But what I'm getting at is, how is recruitment nowadays? It's an all-volunteer force. It wasn't like when the draft was in place.
Yeah, it is an all-volunteer force, and we're very proud of that. You know, recruiting is still strong. We still have positions open, so if you're interested, certainly go in and visit with a recruiter. I visit with a lot of young people and their parents to talk about potential careers and opportunities in the National Guard because of my experience and the time that I've been in. So that's still going strong. And again, the volunteer force is a great thing. But it's a different obligation, but the individuals who are enlisting understand that. The one thing that has been talked about throughout the time since post 9/11 was that we wouldn't be able to sustain. And I myself, as one of the old guys in the element, kind of look at it and go, wow, how long are these young people going to continue? But it's all that they know. So they didn't come in pre 9/11 and have the situation of 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, and kind of no real contact or obligation in between. They know it for what it is now. So our young folks are learning to balance that, but along with that comes the trying to work between school and guards, between work and guards. So it remains to be seen whether or not that retention issue is going to become a problem, and whether we'll have fewer folks that'll stay for a full retirement situation.
The Guard members that have been in 12 years now, as I understand, have some decisions to make about their retirement. It's not necessarily just going to be a set number. If you decide to stay in for your full 20, if you've had a certain amount of time in, they're liking it to what they want to do with Social Security eventually. Yep. And make it more of a income-based, not necessarily income, but investment-based retirement, 401ks. Your thoughts on that? I can see it working.
Yeah, the new program is called Blended Retirement, and that blended retirement gives the individuals an opportunity to invest in their retirement and have something when they leave, even if they don't stay for a full 20. So as the current retirement is, that I came in under, if you don't stay for 20 years, if you get out after 18 years, you get nothing when you turn 60. Currently, they're working the blended retirement so that they have an option, and how much they get down the road, just like with a civilian employer, will depend upon how much they've put in over the course of their time and how long they stay in. It's an elective, so if you have less than 12 years, as you said, there are opportunities to buy into that or begin investing in that. So, and there's a lot of learning out there. And if you search blended retirement, there's training on that and information on that as well that you can get.
30 years ago when I rolled into Otter Tail County in Fergus Falls, 401ks, Roth IRAs, IRA retirement funds weren't necessarily top of the line. Now it's here to stay. They're here to stay, and a financial advisor would be a good idea if you're a young person. Start off now, put that money away so you can retire comfortably when the time comes.
Yeah, and there's many other options as well that are new, relatively new to Reserve and Guard in terms of savings and retirement and those different things. The other thing I should touch on too, Charlie, we talked about the obligation, and sometimes we forget to explain why is it that there's more time requirement, and the big part to that is that the need for the Guard to be a part of the ready force means that we're shortening the time between notification and response. And in order to have us trained and ready to go on a shorter period of time, it requires more training time in the year. So it's just kind of an addition in there.
Where are the recruiting stations?
Well, you can find a recruiter at most any armory in the state of Minnesota. So if you go to any armory, they can certainly find a recruiter for you, or there's a recruiter there. And then throughout the state and certainly in the larger cities, in some of the strip malls and things of that nature. But probably your best bet is Minnesota Army National Guard. If you do a search, you'll be able to find a recruiter through that that you can make contact with, or like I say, stop into any armory. Or for that matter, speak with any guardsmen that you may know, and they should be able to help you out as well.
I'm quite pleased with the young members and some senior members that have been in the Guard a while, that once they get a taste of the military life or the routine, and not necessarily being shipped overseas, Iraq, Afghanistan, or points all over the globe, they stay with it. Military really gets in your blood. I chose to be discharged under honorably discharged, I should say.
I was going to
After
say,
4
don't downgrade
years.
yourself, Charlie.
But there's always that question, what if? I'm not one that has ever looked back, but what if I would have stayed in? No, I made my choice to get out, but I certainly honor the individuals that stick with it, as is the case with my Veteran Service Officer Assistant in New York Mills, Sherry Verzonki, a 24-plus year Air Force veteran. Yourself in the Guard for so many years now. I don't mean to date you. It's a
Well,
good
26 now.
It's a good career.
It is. And it's one of those, as we see in our office all the time, veterans that come in that have done anywhere from 2 years to 32 years, they all remember their basic training. They all remember those lessons that they learned there. It changes who you are. It's a topic of conversation, whether it's in our case, Navy to Army or Air Force to Marines. That's a common bond that is generally comes up as a point of discussion, no matter what your how that was for you and what you learned there. And it's something that gives you life skills that you really can't get anywhere else. A lot of times when I'm visiting with parents, I'll explain to them that basic training is difficult, but they as they go through that process, they teach them that their limits that are preconceived in their mind are not real, that they can do things that they don't believe they can do, and there's a process to go through to do that. It's certainly changed over the years, but it accomplishes that same task, and the smile and the pride that you see on a soldier, sailor, airman, Marines face as they come back from basic training is unmistakable. So.
Some office activities, been getting a lot of calls about the VA Choice program. It's a new program where the VA is hired 3 agencies to set up, not to switch gears too drastically, but
Nope.
when you mentioned the changes to the Veterans Administration as well, the Choice program. It's been around a few years ago. We ask veterans to be patient with the scheduling of your appointments. If you're not satisfied with the amount of appointments or the travel distance that you have to incur because of different appointments for compensation or just general health care, there are 3 numbers that we have at the office for the 3 different organizations. They are more than willing to help you get to the closest location if you've been authorized care outside of a Veterans Administration healthcare facility. They're really working hard to accommodate the veterans.
The Choice program, an ongoing, continually evolving process from when it first came in and was going to be, at times almost looked like it was going to be carte blanche, go and get taken care of whatever you need if you live this far from a facility, is changing and evolving. I think the big key to it is to make sure that your care is approved prior to
Yes.
going in. So there are some verbiage and some things that are written on those approval sheets that will give some indicators like you are qualified for ongoing care. But you need to stay in communication with that choice representative or your primary care team at your VA facility to ensure that those are approved through the Choice program. It's not an open ticket once you're approved. You just go and have all the care that you want. It's something that we need to keep on top of to make sure that they're tracking those things.
We can't encourage you enough, veterans, to be proactive about your health care. Keep after it. If you have any questions, we can certainly help you navigate the system through our offices, but then the phone numbers are on the appointment sheets if you have any questions. Sometimes there is a delay in reply, but they will get back to you. It's Secretary Shulkin's initiative, among many, to be sure that veterans are treated by Veterans Administration healthcare facilities first and foremost, but when the delay is too long or the travel distance is cumbersome, certainly they'll apply the Choice program. Choice program doesn't necessarily cover emergency care. If you're a veteran, you most likely are very well aware that the VA tells you to go to the nearest healthcare facility, private or otherwise, if you're having an emergent need. But the VA will, once you notify the VA that you're in an emergency room setting or you have a family or nurse or doctor do the same, they'll take it from there. But not necessarily pay for the whole stay while you're in that emergent care facility. And if you'd like more information about that as well, offices are available Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. Our staff here in Fergus Falls can answer any of your questions. If I'm unavailable, that's Laura, the Assistant Veteran Service Officer. Heather is the administrative professional. And in New York Mills, Elizabeth Lang is the administrative professional. And as I mentioned, Sherry, the Assistant Veteran Service Officer, 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday.
And Charlie, you hit on a great point there. You know, the veteran, you know, they need to take responsibility for their health care as well. That's a tough situation for us. In the situation of Veterans Choice, when you make that appointment and go to that appointment, we can contact the VA and we can ask for them to cover that, but most times they don't. That is an appointment that you've made with a private care facility, and the expenses that are incurred then belong to you. So I understand that it may be what some would call fine print, but you need to know up front that taking stock in your own health care and in your own situation is the best way to do that, because after the fact it can be difficult for us. Emergent care, life, limb, or eyesight is what I like to use for a guideline for that. If it's something that you are at risk of losing life, limb, or eyesight, it's emergent care. If it's an inconvenience that on a Sunday you've come down with a cold or something like that, the VA is not going to consider that emergent care. So we just need to be aware. It's sometimes difficult to discern maybe, but if you are seriously thinking that you've got a life-threatening issue, then certainly go to that emergent care. Don't call me first. But it needs to be legitimate concern, not a later case of I thought it was tough. So sometimes I'm too hard on people, I think.
I don't think so at all. It's the reality, the fact and the reality. We served, we deserve, but VA can only take it so far with our health care coverage. Medicare is oftentimes neglected as a first payee, or the payor, I guess, of emergent bills. Many veterans have Medicare Part A and B. First billed, their supplement is second billed. Third billed would be the Veterans Administration. And the supplements in many instances, along with Medicare Part A and B, cover the entire cost. Do we recommend getting a supplement if you're a Medicare recipient and part of Medicare Part B? Yes, we do. VA is not a health insurance provider, it's a health care provider. And the supplements now that they're coming out with, be it Blue Cross Blue Shield, UCare, Humana is a good policy in this area. We can help you navigate the supplemental insurance policies. Can't recommend, but we can certainly let you know of all the options. If you're turning 65 and have questions about Medicare, it can be kind of daunting signing up for Medicare Part B. I'll get a question many times throughout the year. Should I subscribe to Medicare Part B? I have the Veterans Administration. What do I need to pay the $110 to $130 premium for Medicare Part B? It is highly advisable that you subscribe to Medicare Part B when you become eligible.
Yeah, and it's that situation that we just spoke of, where you have veterans care, but that's care through the VA system. And on that Sunday afternoon where you come down with a rough flu symptom or a cold symptom that you want to go to that provider that's in your community or near your community, that's where that comes in and covers. And so, you know, it's one of those where if you choose not to take Part B, there's a penalty later. If you choose to enroll in it later.
All about that 10% for every year that you do not choose to take Medicare Part B.
So it's one of those that you do have the option later, but you'll pay a penalty for that. And it's a roll of the dice. It's that whole idea that, well, I'm feeling well now and I don't need it and I have the VA. But down the road, where are you going to be at and what may you need then? So,
some housekeeping items coming up. Veterans Day on the Hill is March 12th. It's a time that veterans organizations from all 87 counties in Minnesota gather around, in this case, the Veterans Service Building, for a continental breakfast from, I believe, 8 to 10 o'clock down in Minneapolis, St. Paul area. Then joining the rest of the constituents at the Rotunda on the state capitol for meet and greet of veterans state and representatives and congressional representatives and senators as well. Then from noon to 2 on the 12th, I plan to take we'll be there in advance, but I plan to take a bus to the event on March 12, Veterans Day on the Hill. And at this point, I'm just soliciting anyone that would like to go. Please contact the office at 998-8605 and discuss the planning details well in the infancy stages at this point, as we have well over a month to plan. But I'd like to load up an Otter Tail County coach's bus, or an Otter Tail coach's bus, and take the veterans down to just discuss legislative issues, what's on the agenda both state and nationally. It's a good day to get one-on-one with our representatives and senators. That's again March 12th. We'll leave at a time to be determined, but again, the office in Fergus Falls is 998-8605, and in New York Mills, it's 385-5540.
Well, and this is a great opportunity for veterans, you know, whether you've got a burr under your blanket about something, or you just want to ensure that they continue some of the programs that you're utilizing that you believe are so valuable. It doesn't have to be a negative thing, but it's your opportunity to go and speak with those senators and representatives and let them know how you feel about what they're doing in terms of your veterans issues and those areas, so that we can continue to take care of and serve the needs of our veterans here in the Otter Tail and Grant area,
And by
and
that
state
time,
for that matter.
with the legislature reconvening in February, we'll know a lot more about the specific. It's a bonding year, so they'll be talking more of the building and infrastructure for Veterans Administration facilities, including veterans homes. It's very important to keep in tune to the legislative affairs, especially in a year like this when we don't want to cut funding, we don't want to lose staff, we don't want any of the veterans homes to face closure. In fact, we were talking about another veterans cemetery and building more veterans homes, state-run veterans home for veterans and spouses as well.
Well, and that's a prime example of what I was speaking of. You know, we've got a great veterans facility here in Fergus Falls that is second to none. But there have been times when, you know, they've talked funding and staffing and those sorts of things. And so a great opportunity to speak with them about that and reinforce the need to fully fund the facility that we have here. Certainly a lot of volunteers from the community that go up and do things there, but ultimately that base funding is what keeps that facility going and going strong with quality individuals and employees there. So a great opportunity. We hear all the time from our peers in other parts of the state where they wish they had a facility like this in their backyard, and so we don't want to take that for granted.
Hope to get on Dory Knutson or Deanna Mounts about the veterans. I know we've had a program from the Veterans Home on Park Region TV, and thank you so much for the airtime allowing us to promote veterans events. But the eligibility requirements are in place. Some things may have changed that we should bring folks up to date on veterans home eligibility. If you'd like to talk about compensation, pension, education benefits, burial benefits for veterans, VA home loan eligibility, that's another kind of gray area where some veterans or their family members who might be eligible for a VA certificate of eligibility think that it's a VA loan. It is not a loan. It is your certificate of eligibility that will provide certain benefits for veterans and their surviving spouses. But the money does not come from the VA. Your lending institution has a lot of information, including access with your discharge, to speed up the process of getting your eligibility certificate. And there are advantages: no closing costs, the inspection fee is free, mortgage insurance is waived, and there's more that a financial institution can tell you about. Compensation, pension, VA healthcare eligibility. But one thing as we close I'd like to call attention to is medical foster homes through the Veterans Administration. Lonnie Larson will be on a program coming up here on Park Region TV on our Veterans Service Show. She is the coordinator of the Medical Foster Care Program. There are many advantages to a smaller setting group home when a veteran is not quite in need of long-term care. in a nursing home facility, long-term care facility, nor an assisted living facility where he or she cannot necessarily take care of themselves, running the risk of safety precautions. Find out more about VA medical foster homes by calling Lonnie Larson, and our ACE production specialist and producer Bobby Sue has the flyer that you're seeing that gives Lonnie Larson's contact information at 701-232-3241, extension 94394. I think there's one medical foster home in Pelican Rapids. They're looking for, and there are vacancies, 3 is the maximum at a VA medical foster home, but there are vacancies in the immediate 65-degree radius around Fargo if you know of a veteran that might need not long-term care, can't live in assisted living on his or her own accord, but just needs that 24-hour care. Meals cooked, sleeping until 11:30, wake up, I want bacon, eggs, and toast this morning, you got it. It's a very charming type of lifestyle as veterans retire into a lifestyle that they so deserve.
Well, and it's the opportunity for the families as well, because they do become part of those families, and it's rewarding on both sides from my experience and understanding from what I've heard of these environments. And maybe bacon, eggs, and toast isn't on the menu that morning, so I'm sure it would be a great discussion. But bridging that gap and keeping folks in community and family environments rather than having them sitting in a room. So it certainly is beneficial to both sides.
That has been the going trend since in my near 12-year tenure now. We've read about and seen the legislation that assisted living facilities are now recognized by the Veterans Administration in the case of a VA pension that may help pay for some medical care at an assisted living facility. Assisted living facilities, including medical foster homes, now recognize the need for aid and attendance or just being housebound if you need help getting groceries or maybe attending to the needs of daily life. The benefits are there, but you just need to find out about them. Ask, and
That's right.
Ye shall receive the information from us, and probably too much sometimes.
Yeah, again, a great program, and there's a lot of them out there.
Anything else you'd like to bring on?
We talked a little bit about ID cards.
Finally.
Veterans ID cards are available. If you search veteran ID card or stop into the office, we can help you with that process, but it's an online process to request a veteran's card. If you have a VA medical card, you won't get both because you don't need both. You have the veteran's medical card, but the program is out there and coming through, and as Charlie mentioned on the radio show, there is no fee for it. So if you see advertisements or opportunities where they want to charge you for that, don't give them your money. Give us a call. My office, 218-685-8324, and Charlie's office.
In Fergus Falls, it's 998-8605. In New York Mills, it's 385-5540. And going beyond being charged for a veteran's card or a discharge, if you got a mailing just the other day from an organization, I believe it was on the East Coast, wanting to help veterans get their veterans ID card. We'll send it to you. Here's the amount that we're going to charge. It's no charge, folks.
Yeah.
As well as for the Honor Rewards program, which is more localized for some businesses, and that is available through the Otter Tail County Recorder's Office or our Veteran Service offices. It's more specialized, give more local discounts other than just the big box stores, which we commend them for doing same now that the Veterans ID card is out. Log on to Honor Rewards and just scroll down to Otter Tail County, see how easy it is to get your Honor Rewards cards. Look at the businesses in Otter Tail and Grant County and surrounding counties that honor the Honor Rewards card. It's simple to do. It can save you a lot of money. And with that, I think I'll just say salute.
Salute.